Do you think there could be any truth to it, that there could be the president could feel threatened, whether himself, his family, whether to his life, or something less sinister, maybe legal threats, economic threats, or just political threats? Is that a possibility on what's guiding his decisions? Because the Iran war is just such a stupid war. You were talking earlier how the Strait of Hormuz, the Iranians succeeded with the Strait of Hormuz with their underground missile facilities. But everyone knew that. Everyone knew about their missile facilities deep underground. With the US intelligence, I'm sure they knew how deep it was. Everyone knew Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz. They could easily strike Gulf infrastructure. So it's not, you didn't need to be an intelligence analyst to come to these conclusions. So then it begs the question, why the hell did Trump do this? That's why I've been giving that theory a lot more thought recently.
Well, I have talked about this a lot, and I've written about it a lot. And if anyone's interested, the Gray Zone, or under my byline, I published a investigation called "How Israel and the FBI Manipulated Assassination Plots to Goad Trump into Iran War." And this was published on March 6th, so anyone can look it up.
Can you retweet it if there's a tweet about it, and I'll retweet it as well so people could easily spot it?
Yeah, I'll just send it to you in the chat.
On WhatsApp. Yeah, send it to me on WhatsApp if you can. And I'll just retweet it for the audience.
All right. Just looking you up real quick. All right, here it is. So, yeah, I mean, this was an investigation I did into the case of someone named Asif Merchant. And there were several other cases, but basically into all of these supposed terrorism cases, which were spun as Iranian assassination attempts against Donald Trump directed by the IRGC. And remember, on February 28th, 2026, when Donald Trump launched Operation quote unquote Epic Fury, he assassinated Iran's Ayatollah, Ali Khamenei. He said, "I got him before he got me." Trump was like really excited about this. It's because he was told by the Israelis that the Israelis did this. And then Hegseth went out and said, "We also killed an IRGC operative who had directed several attempts against Donald Trump." And what was that based on? What was that comment based on? It was based on several plots that never would have reached their conclusion, which were never serious, which were always being monitored by FBI undercover operatives, informants, in many ways guided by the FBI. And prior to that, which were being directed by Israeli intelligence, specifically this plot of this Pakistani national named Asif Merchant, who was just sentenced or was just convicted of a very nebulous assassination plot, which Trump was told were Iranian plots against him. And it got to the point where during Donald Trump's campaign for president, he was flying on a ghost plane to campaign stops, and he'd basically send his staff on Trump Force One, and he was riding on Steve Witkoff's private jet because he was told completely falsely, based on the shadiest information, that IRGC operatives were in the United States and were planning to take Donald Trump out with anti-aircraft weapons. This was fake. It was basically fake, and Trump was being manipulated. But there were real plots. I mean, there were real assassination attempts on Donald Trump, more real than attempts on any president since Ronald Reagan, since John Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan. And these are weird attempts, like Butler. It was weird. Everybody just can feel that it was unusual, that this unknown man who we were initially told had no online footprint. Thomas Matthew Crooks was able to scale a roof after testing a drone at the Butler Fairgrounds and then fire several shots before a heroic local cop shot him as the Secret Service basically froze. And then no one was, there weren't like immediate firings at the Secret Service, and he nicked Trump's ear, according to the official account. There was the Ryan Routh, he was able to get close to Mar-a-Lago with a rifle. This guy who has this shady background of training American and foreign volunteers for the international battalion in Ukraine. And then the assassination of Charlie Kirk clearly shook Donald Trump. But with the Butler plot, there's no clear evidence pointing to Iran at all. But that didn't bother Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz was at the time a member of Congress, was very pro-Trump, was in sort of Trump's bullpen in Congress, and was someone whose career had been cultivated by the Israel lobby. He's one of the largest recipients in the House of Representatives of AIPAC money. AIPAC, helped recruit him. And, after Congress, he went into the Trump administration. He was initially NSC director until Signalgate on Yemen. Now he's the UN ambassador. But he was on the committee to investigate Butler, and he kept trying to guide the committee into this weird rabbit hole in which Butler was actually an Iranian plot. It's so strange. Now, what if Butler had succeeded and Trump had actually been assassinated on that day, and Mike Waltz was pushing this Iran narrative? And who was standing next in line in the Republican Party? It was Nikki Haley, who was one of the biggest Iran hawks and neocon fanatics in the Republican Party today. And she would have potentially filled Donald Trump's shoes as the nominee and launched a war on Iran right then, blaming Iran for killing Donald Trump. I mean, that was a possibility. There's a great book right now by Ken Silva.
He was on I was chatting to him a few days ago. He knows so much about the damn assassination. He knows the weather, the temperature at the time. But yeah, he's got an incredible book.
He's the expert, and he's also not like a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy analyst, or he only deals with conspiracy facts. So he's actually poured cold water on some of the sillier assassination conspiracy theories. A very serious reporter and analyst. And, I consulted him on my investigation. But the overall point I'm making is that there's clear evidence, there's a clear record of Trump being placed under duress through real assassination plots where they've been spun into an imaginary Iranian plot to or a more dubious Iranian plan to avenge the death of Qasem Soleimani by killing Donald Trump. And Trump believed that up until February 28th. I don't know what he believes now, or if he believes that Israel will seek to eliminate him. But I do know from several sources who've talked to Donald Trump and been around him that he's not fond of Netanyahu, and that he's very wary of Netanyahu, and that he feels a deep sense of unease and is aware of the ability of these Israel-directed forces to harm him. But when I say harm him, I mean it's more like he fear that they could harm him politically, or Miriam Adelson could pull the plug on Trump's financial feeding tube. There are many areas of leverage that they have short of actually physically harming Trump.
Her publication, Israel Hayom, put out a piece calling him, I think they called Trump a traitor today, in an article in an op-ed.
Yeah, I mean, and assassinations in their wheelhouse. I mean, they have an entire division of the Mossad dedicated to assassination, and that's why I think many people believe that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by Israel, even though I've found no evidence of that. And
I'm not convinced.
I didn't deny it twice. I was reading another piece in the Jerusalem Post in which they sort of imagined Joseph Aoun, the president of Lebanon, being assassinated by Hezbollah. But, and then that would sort of, and they said, if that happens, then the U.S. will have to go back to war with Iran. So, that would make me get conspiratorial a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't expect Israel to kill Joseph Aoun or the Americans. And by the way, I support what he's trying to do. But always skeptical, but I support it. But anyway, if when I see a story like this, I don't disagree with your skepticism. Max, welcome back. Don't leave us for too long again. It's good to chat to you again. Give us your overview on things. Love the analysis, and I'd love to do this again soon. I appreciate your time.